Welcome to the Align Life podcast. I'm your host, Malika. On this podcast, we talk about all things self-development, life, spirituality, and more. So sit back, enjoy, listen, and learn. This video is going to be about things that I realized in therapy or tips, just things that you may want to know if you're kind of wanting to seek out therapy. Now, a little bit of a backstory. I started therapy about 3 months ago, and it has been a very good experience for me. I am lucky that my therapist is of a similar spiritual belief as me. So when I talk about things like tarot and chakras and just stuff like that, they get it. But also my therapist is just, I think our personalities mesh well together. So I would say definitely when you are seeking therapy, hope that you find a therapist that is good for you there, and do take your time to look. I had a different experience where the therapist that I got actually turned out to be good for me. So I would have continued looking had it not, but it just happened to be that way where, like, when we met, it was like, okay, this is a good therapist for me. You must also know that sometimes your therapist may not be coming from a psychological background, although they may have learned those same things. Sometimes your therapist may be a social worker. Yes, your therapist can be a social worker. So that's something else that you might want to be aware of. And it doesn't mean that they're not good at doing their job. It's just that different backgrounds equal different capabilities. For instance, somebody who doesn't have a PhD will not be able to diagnose you, or at least not be able to prescribe you anything. So that's something to be in mind about. But yeah, I would just say that that's my tips for kind of like, make sure you're finding the therapist that's right for you. Don't have the guilt or shame if you find one that doesn't mesh well with your personality and what you're needing. Your therapy session, I would say the number one tip that I have is that your therapy session should make you feel safe enough to be able to open up and be vulnerable. If you can't do that in your therapy session, even after a couple of sessions, it may be that you need to find another therapist, or it might be time that you ask yourself, like, am I really opening myself up to this experience? So make sure that your therapy environment is very safe and you feel like you can open up. And I have definitely realize that my therapy space is a safe space. I feel very comfortable opening up. I feel very comfortable being vulnerable, and I feel very safe and heard in my appointments. The next thing I want you to know is be ready to feel seen, be ready to feel validated, be ready to be held accountable. So when I say you feel seen. For the first time in your life, you may feel seen. For the first time in your life, you may feel validated, like truly validated, like someone is honoring the experiences that you've been through. Somebody is truly seeing you in the way that you may see yourself, or just seeing you in your rawness, in your realness, and not judging you about that. And when I say be accountable, meaning there are going to be times when your therapist points out to you that, hey, this is something you need to be accountable for. And that is your job, to be accountable. We don't come in here thinking that everybody, or I would say it's helpful to not come into a space thinking that you're just the victim and you play zero role in anything that happens in your life, because we all do. So be ready to take accountability. A big thing to know about going to the therapist is, like, they are not your hand holder. They are meant to give you the tools to help you help yourself. It's just like life coach. It's just like a tarot reader. It's just like any type of form of coaching, counseling, therapy. They are here to help you facilitate yourself, or help facilitate you in giving you the tools to help yourself. They are not here to be your end all, be all, your everything that you need. It's just like any other type of relationship. Don't go into your therapy session thinking that they just have the magic pill, the magic answer. They're going to be there. They're your mother, they're your father, your best friend. No, they're literally here to help you empower yourself so that you can take charge of your situation. And just feel, and that's a part of the making sure that the therapy environment feels safe. And I don't mean just the literal environment. I'm talking about the dialogue between you and your therapist. That's why you want to make sure you feel safe, so that you can be vulnerable, so that you can be open to hearing another point and perspective, and see things in a whole new light. And that takes me into my other point, is that be open, be ready for a perspective shift. Your perspectives are going to shift so much. I mean, they definitely, let's be real, we can have our own perspective shifts on our own. But being in that environment and being able to just calmly, safely introspect and listen to yourself and listen to the therapist allows you to have some of the most in-depth perspective shifts and revelations that I feel like I've had in this experience. Is like, I know I have powerful revelations and perspective shifts on my own, but sometimes that extra, like being in that space, allows you to have them more rapidly or more profoundly, because there's not that outer element of feeling judged or feeling like you don't have the support or feeling alone and all of that. I went to therapy yesterday. I'm filming this Wednesday the 28th. I went to therapy yesterday. I had some of the biggest revelations again. And it's just like that space allowed that to happen for me. And it also allowed, going back to the accountability part, it allowed for you to take accountability, because once you have those realizations and those perspective shifts, you have to do something about it. Like, let's just say your boundaries has been crossed and you go to therapy and finally you're realizing that you put boundaries like in place with friends or your coworkers, but the people that continue to push your boundaries the most aren't those people. Say it's your family, and you have that realization in therapy, then it's like, aha, but now what action are you going to take to change that? And that's where the accountability, that's what I mean by taking accountability. Like, you're going to see where you need to do that more in your life. And it's just powerful. And, yeah, I really think that those are pretty much it on the things that I've noticed so far. Oh, when I be open to, crying. Crying is a very healing experience. And I'm adding this in here because a lot of people feel like they have to be closed off and reserved, just because that's maybe the way that they grew up. And this is a space where let the tears flow. Your therapist is used to hearing this and seeing this and all of that. And also really dive deep into your sessions. If your therapist asks you a question, don't just, immediately respond. Really take your time to sit there with yourself and answer that question in the most honest and authentic way that you possibly can. And really, really listen to yourself. This is a great time to practice active listening, even when it comes to yourself. Because sometimes it is hearing yourself speak that you say the exact things that you've needed to hear for a long time, but maybe you haven't been able to do that due to many other factors. So those are the things that I noticed, and I hope that it helps you. If y'all want me to talk more about my experience with therapy, I will definitely do that. I have found it to be so helpful as a person who is coming from a background of not feeling seen, not feeling heard, not feeling valued, people pleasing, codependency, and abandonment. I can definitely say that this has been a great experience for my mental health, and just being able to shed light on that. And as a person who is in the mental health field themselves, yes, I am in the mental health field. It is okay for us mental health providers, in whichever way you do that, whether again that's through tarot, spirituality, Reiki, crisis work, any modality of this, please understand that you have a right to have the best mental health as well too. So don't feel afraid to seek that out for yourself. And I talked about soft living, real versus soft and slow living last week. So I would recommend going to check out that video, because this kind of goes in tune with that. The more you tune into yourself, the more your self-awareness becomes heightened, which means your consciousness is raising about yourself. Life is a journey. Life is an exploration of who you are and getting into those core aspects and peeling back those layers of self. And so that all intertwines into soft or slow living. So the more you're in tune with yourself, the more you're going to know the areas in which your life that you take more time, you are more gentle, you are more compassionate with yourself, and you are more caring. You're ramping up that self-care, that self-love, and it's a beautiful experience. It's not easy work, but it's necessary work, and I love it. And it's one of those things that just, it makes you feel more comfortable in your shoes. There are many facets to us. Like right now, I come to you like more as a professional or as a person just sharing an experience. But even when I'm outside of this and I'm turned up and I'm having fun and I'm getting my groove on, it just makes the experience of life so much better. And you feel so much more able to be in your authenticity, whatever that means for you. You know, we all have different modes and different, I can be like this, I could be, hey, what's up? Yo, like all of that. I can go through my different modes of being, and it just makes that easier to do because you're finding strength and empowerment through doing that. So anyways, that's my spiel on therapy. I hope these kind of things help you if you're looking to get into therapy, and I will see you next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Align Life podcast. If you enjoyed it, rate, comment, and share. And find me on Instagram at the Align Life with Malika.